You also said, now, there have been so many people that have lost their jobs, and it's such a devastating experience for a lot of people. And it was either in your book or one of these quotes, you said that losing a job can be a secret nudging of the spirit, ultimately to something positive. Can you expand on that? Nudging of the spirit?
Well, that sort of trips into my faith and my theology. I have looked at my own life, and I realize I've gone through some terrible experiences in my life. My best friend died in church one Sunday after giving the sermon. He just slumped over and was dead, and things like that.
Your brother?
And my brother. But when I look back, I realize every experience I had gone through had given me certain skills or a certain kind of experience that I needed later in life to deal with whatever I was facing at that time. So I often say, no experience is wasted, and if you stay alive to what it is you're learning and so on, even if if you're in grief, even if you're crying a ton of tears, you're still going to learn something valuable that you're going to need later in life. Nothing is ever wasted. So that's what I meant when I said that sometimes it's an abrupt calling up of yourself on going down a path you don't really want to continue to go down. And I was fired. I've been fired twice in my life.
It started the whole book series. You're getting fired.
Well, yeah. No, not really. No? Had I just been fired, I would never have written the book. Okay. It was when I supervised all these other people in the next job I had, and they were all being fired. That's when my saliva started going, and I said, I've got to help these people because they can't help themselves. I'd given the congregation at Grace Cathedral had been up in arms over my being let go because I really ingratiated myself with them, not deliberately, but I just had. And they didn't want to let me go. They'd brought me all the way from New Jersey to fill this post at the cathedral, which was called canon pastor. And they gave a handsome purse to me. They held meetings Sunday after Sunday to get the bishop to change his mind. And that didn't work. So they gave me this handsome purse. And I went and deposited it into the hands, trusting an executive counseling firm. And I handed all the money to him. And they put out about 800 resumes. I didn't get a single answer to any of them, and so forth. My. Yeah, and that's how it all got started.
Actually, it leads me to a question I was going to ask you earlier, but the best and worst ways to look for work. Now, I know that that's a whole section in your book, but you just named one. You sent out 1 million resumes.
Well, I have to tell you the end of that story.
Oh, okay.
I turned on 60 Minutes about 6 months after I gave them all my money, and they were exposed as a fraud on 60 Minutes.
You gave them the whole purse?
Yeah. So I really learned my lesson.
The most obvious best ways and worst ways, too.
Well, among the worst ways, surprisingly enough, is the internet. Mm-hmm. I'm a very mixed mind about the internet, personally. I stay on it hours at a time every day, so I love it. I get all kinds of help from it. But as a way of finding a job, they have statistics that have been done in studies that reveal only somewhere between 4 and 10% of the people that go on the internet looking for a job actually find one. Now that means out of every 100 people, somewhere between 90 and 96 aren't going to find the job on the internet, and hence they're going to have to go and search for alternative strategies. The problem is they don't look for those alternative strategies until they're right in the middle of a mess in their life. They've been fired and let go. They have to find money right away. And the internet has created this image that, well, you won't really need to do much because we're always going to be here, and when you're out of work, just come to us and we'll find you a job while you sleep. You know, we'll give us your resume and we'll try to match it, and we'll give you a call in the morning. And so it's that expectation that cripples people with their job hunt. And so that's one of the worst. And answering ads is another one. Sending out resumes is another one. The statistics are that out of every 1,470 resumes that are out there floating in the world of work, there's only one job offer made and accepted.
Oh my gosh.
And so the trouble is everybody who uses a resume and gets a job goes singing its praises and telling everyone, you should really send in your resume and so forth. the ones who don't find a job using their resume are so ashamed
they don't say anything.
They don't say anything. So you have this huge like hype going that the resume is going to be the secret of your finding a job. And for a lot of people, it is. The trouble is, I'm back to my theme, what's your plan B if you try that and it doesn't work? I don't care what anybody does in the way of job hunting. Let them try anything they want to, but only give it a reasonable amount of time and always have a plan B in their pocket, which is what the book is all about. It's telling them, here are some alternative things you can try if that doesn't work.
And one of the best ways you said is to work in groups.
Best
like
way,
like a support group.
One neat way to do it, and it's very simple, is simply to, if you're looking for a change in a job or a career, is to go through the index to the yellow pages. It's usually green in most of the volumes I have around the, I live here in the Bay Area. And the index, you just circle anything that looks interesting in the index, subjects. And then you say, well, the 3 that I find most intriguing are, and then you go and you look to see what the places are, because the index will tell you the subject, but it won't tell you who is in that particular field. But you look in the yellow pages, and there they are, and you go talk to them. And you say, here's the experience I have, here are the skills I have. Can you use a man, or a woman, she's a woman, can you use a woman with these kinds of skills and this kind of experience? And if they say, no, we really can't, then you say, well, can you tell me who else you know that you think might be able to? It's a very effective job hunting method. It doesn't use resumes, ads, or agencies. And there are a lot of others like that that people can turn to. So the very best way is to sit down and do homework on yourself. I have a whole thing in the appendix of exercise they could do in a weekend. It doesn't take a lot of time.
So knowing yourself and then going out with that information.
In fact, this is based on some scientific research of sorts. Barbara Brown was a woman researcher at USC back in the 1970s, and she wrote a book, New Mind, New Body. And it was the first time anybody in the public had heard of biofeedback. She used that book to tell the public what researchers had known about for years. And she said, I heard her give a talk, and she laughingly called herself a brain scientist. And she said, what we brain scientists have learned is if you have to make a decision, take one piece of paper, write everything you know about yourself on that piece of paper, where you took your vacations, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and so on. And then draw some kind of a diagram on it, or underneath it, or whatever. And then prioritize the pieces of information about yourself you've written on there. Like circle the 10 things you think are most important about you. And that often will give you a direction to go in if you're trying to change careers. You're trying to figure out something new you'd like to do.
That's amazing.